Hi, welcome back to Detective Story. I'm Mike Hammond. Thank you again for joining in. We really appreciate it. Today, episode 17 is a special edition, kind of an emergency situation. We have two young women in Gary, Indiana, which is just outside of Chicago here, that have gone missing in the last few months. Particularly distressing because Niyah McMichael, one of the two women, is 13 years old, and Emma Baum is 25 years old. They're missing about a mile, last seen about a mile from each other there in Gary. Also, extremely distressing is that both women are reported to be pregnant. So, in today's episode, we're going to go over that. We're going to discuss it. I've got my brother-in-law, Chris Kafcas, and special guests, crime reporter, investigative reporter, Lisette Guillen. So please check us out and help us find these two young women. Hey, welcome back to Detective Story. I'm Mike Hammond. Thanks again for joining in. We really appreciate it. We always appreciate your involvement. Check out our website. Again, it's up and running. It's pretty cool. It's just www.detectivestory.net. There you can get in contact with us. You can email Chris or I. Stay in touch. If you have tips, you can do that anonymously. If you got suggestions for things you'd like to hear us discuss, you want to beef, you want to tell me a funny joke, you can do any of those things on the website. So we appreciate it. Today, I'm joined as always with my brother-in-law, Chris Kafcas, my partner in crime, as it were. And we also have a really special guest today, my friend, Lisette Guillen, who is, I'll let her tell you about her extensive resume, but we first met when I was still working, and you were running like a cold case. It was called Case Files or something out of Northwest Indiana there, right?
Yes.
And it was great because we didn't have anybody else doing it, but you were basically asking us to come with you with open cold cases or cases that we needed assistance with.
Yes.
Right? And I had a really interesting one that was fun to do, and several of my friends that I worked with, you did a lot of great service for us, and we really appreciate it. But for our listeners, why don't you go through your really impressive resume?
Okay. I'll just give a basic overview. My name is Lisette Guillen. I'm with Case Files Chicago. My background for doing this is I have a background in broadcasting communications, and then also have done some police training, law enforcement training. I worked at I helped start a police training academy in Northwest Indiana as well, and did a lot of cool training stuff there. Went back doing my Case Files Chicago, and my role for that is to get cases from federal, state, local, and county, and help them get a spotlight on cases that are unsolved homicide cases, missing persons, and violent crimes. So on top of that, I also work like as a liaison between the families and the detectives. So it's a lot rolled into it. And as a hobby, well, when I have spare time, I like to work with the canines.
Nice.
And I'm the Chicago ambassador for vested interest in canines. And what we do is we vest canine dogs at no cost to the handler or the department.
Nice. That's awesome. Good for you. That's really cool. I mean, we're all dog lovers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've asked Lisette here today because there are two ongoing, very disturbing investigations going on in Gary, Indiana. Two young women, both pregnant, that have gone missing. The most recent young woman named Emma Baum, who was 9 months pregnant, actually dilating, was last seen at her boyfriend's house and has not been seen since. She was last seen 10th of October 10th, of this year, 2024. Just a few months earlier, 11 August 24, I'm talking police talk, I'm sorry, August the 11th, 2024, a young woman named Niyah McMichael, a short distance away, who is also reported to be pregnant by the family, went missing as well. Neither have been found, and the investigations are ongoing. So Lisette and I talk fairly regularly. We talk about cases. We talk about victims' families. Lisette's a very strong advocate for victims' families, which if anybody listens to this show anytime knows that Chris and I, that's really at the heart of what we try and do. So she mentioned these two cases to me, and looking into them, gave them to Chris, and Chris was really like, shit, this is ugly, right?
Yeah, I mean, Emma was 9 months pregnant, dilating. That was 10/10/24. So, I mean, at this point, there is a missing woman and almost certainly a missing child.
Right.
Best case scenario.
Best case scenario, as well as a missing pregnant 13-year-old. Right?
Right.
Both in Gary.
Both in Gary, yes.
Both a short period of time apart. Walk us through some of the basics with Emma. She went missing, last seen 10/10/24 at her boyfriend's house. Do you know who reported her missing?
Her family reported her missing, so her day looked like the day, the day that she had left, but when the family last saw her, she went about her business. She does have 3 other children at home, so they were left with family while she went out and did some things. Now, it wasn't unlike Emma to, leave and be gone for a day or two. However, a day turned into another one turned into another one, and then here we are 2 weeks later, and the family's like, okay, now we know this isn't like her. But she has had a history of being gone for a couple days. The family said, you know what, she's an adult, maybe she's mad at us, we don't know what's going on, maybe she's having issues with her pregnancy. But the family was extremely concerned, and then they did report to police that she was missing.
Okay. All right, and she was last seen at her boyfriend's house. Her boyfriend is currently in custody on some unrelated charges?
Yes. In fact, the day that they said they last heard from Emma, she sent a text to one of her sisters because somebody always knew, okay, her whereabouts, or at least the vicinity she was at. So she did send a text message that came from inside of the boyfriend's house to her sister that just said, I'm here.
Okay.
So I'm sorry to interrupt real quick, but that does bring up the point. Do we know last seen, is that also mean last communication? No?
Yes.
So phone records basically stop, credit card use, anything like that,
yes.
as far as we know?
And unfortunately, Emma's phone only worked if it was connected to Wi-Fi. She was going to turn it on, I think a day or two later when she got paid, but that time hadn't come yet, so she was only working off of Wi-Fi.
And she was going to get paid. Did she pick that money up, or is that money accounted for?
That I don't know how that worked. I just know that money was going to be used for paying her phone bill.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, but so that's part of just how we know.
Right.
That's the stop date.
Yes.
Basically. Okay. I'd like to take a moment from the program to have a real talk about safety and security. Toward that end, I would like to introduce you to my friends over at Blue Knight Security Solutions, your ultimate partner in protection. Blue Knight Security Solutions isn't just your average check your ID at the door security company. They're a team of elite detectives, investigators, and law enforcement professionals with unparalleled expertise. Whether you need their real-world investigative prowess or securing your home, business, synagogue, church, or event, Blue Knight has you covered. From risk assessment to tailored security plans, they'll ensure your safety. Blue Knight Security Solutions provides street-smart operators who can handle any situation. Contact Blue Knight Security Solutions today at 773-706-4920 or visit BlueKnightSecuritySolutions.com. BlueKnightSecuritySolutions.com. Okay, hey, thank you for coming back from that little commercial break. We appreciate it. So we're back with Lisette Guillen, my friend, and we're talking about Niyah McMichael and Emma Baum, the two young women missing in Gary, Indiana, that is an ongoing investigation. And you actually just got
To-
some type of update notification.
Yeah, this is the first release that Gary Police has put out on Emma Baum, of course, since they started the investigation several weeks ago. And they are saying that the search efforts have intensified as they investigate the disappearance. The city of Gary is deeply concerned, of course. Everybody is. The mayor, I'm sure, is being well informed of what's going on in his city, as he was with Niyah. Because at this point now, not that any, please don't take this wrong, not that any other case is less than, but these two have become very high profile. You've got a young 13-year-old that's pregnant, and you got one who's 25 and, probably more than likely has given birth already.
Almost certainly.
Almost certainly, right? Yeah. So their just statement was just saying that they have received some tips and leads, and they are following up on them. They did canvass the area around the 2500 block of Connecticut. That same block is where the boyfriend lives. So the boyfriend lives right there on 25th and Connecticut, and that's where a lot of the search has taken place, and the flyers were put up in that area of Gary.
So
Doesn't take a big extrapolation to figure out what's going on there.
Especially since during the commercial break, you mentioned that there was some information that was someone had information or had given the police some information about what happened to Emma and where it happened.
Yes.
Are you able to talk about that?
I can, and the reason, too, is because the family, and when times like this happen, unfortunately, to families, and this, Mike, more than anybody, families get very desperate. There's nothing else that scares them or can stop them from finding what happened to their loved one or finding their loved one. So the family started... because that information, that sensitive information that was shared with police was also shared with the family. So the family started putting it out, and it's all over Facebook. It's, everywhere people are talking about it. In fact, it's, before I get back to your question, in fact, it's become a hot topic because not only is it out there on Facebook, but we know that there's, there's investigators, and I'm doing the quote sign if you can't see me, but there's investigators that are on Facebook, and they think they know it all, and so they put their own twist on things. They want the ratings, they want the likes, and that's unfortunate, but that stuff is out there. So as far as what the information was that there was a woman who gave some information, very valuable information, mentioned that she was very well aware of what had happened, saying that she did see Emma at the home, and that there were two gentlemen that did show up that helped do some things that, would contribute to whatever happened with Emma.
Okay. And so it's more than likely that that press release is somehow tied to, Mike, you get that information, does it change the course of your investigation?
Yeah, well, it sounds like my instinct tells me that, and this is just opinion based on my experience, that they've got something they're moving on.
Right.
They've got some, could be that information.
Sure, right.
That they have picked up some morsel that solidifies it enough.
Right.
Maybe they can do search warrants, or maybe they're looking in other places, but it's kicked up the heat of the investigation, like we've got something going here. And to your point about the, triage is a word I use a lot, like it's not one thing's more important than another. You're always trying to do the best you can, but look, I think everybody would agree, when you have a young woman who is within potentially minutes or hours of giving birth and she can't be found, and a 13-year-old who is clearly an endangered missing at that point, you have to take priority. You have to, because if there's any chance to find them alive, it has to be done now,
right,
or as soon as possible.
There was a search warrant executed on
Niyah. Yes.
And that search warrant was where?
That was at Niyah's home, where she lived with her mother and her mother's girlfriend, along with her other siblings. So the Gary Police Department had asked the FBI to come and execute that search warrant for them. They were there for hours, and they came and they did take a number of things out of the house, including cartons of things. Those two were also questioned at the Gary Police Department, And since then, that's where the investigation, that part of the investigation, I don't know any further than that. What was
Right.
found or what came out of the interrogations.
Right.
Yeah, so we don't, we want to be careful about extrapolating out more than what that. There could be a multitude of reasons to do a search warrant on a house. It could be that there are suspects there. It could be that it's not really about them suspecting something there. It could be they're looking for
Any
materials or things that might lead them further on. So you just have to be careful about trying to extrapolate out until you know more on that. Not that we are, but it's difficult to tell. You do search warrants for a myriad of reasons,
Right.
No, you know what? You are right on track with something, Mike, because that is exactly what I was talking about. When people saw those photos come out, because they were all over Facebook, pictures of the FBI taking things out, people started saying, oh, good, the FBI took over the case. The FBI did not take over the case. They simply are helping, Gary Police Department. Gary Police Department's still a lead. So that's where some of that false information is coming from that I was talking about. And then on top of that, like you said, they could be the mother and the girlfriend could have been questioned for a number of reasons. Nobody knows what was said inside those rooms.
Right.
But for people like those that like to stir up things, they made it look like, okay, they're guilty and, this. And you really have to wait on police confirmation on everything.
Yeah, I mean, and even then, right, innocent until proven guilty. The thing that's most concerning for me, obviously, is that there's a missing 13-year-old that's pregnant. There's a
Yes.
missing 25-year-old, 9 months pregnant. I mean, this is both within a short period of time. It's incredibly disturbing.
Well, and also within a pretty short proximity of each other, it doesn't appear like there is a connection between them. There's a pretty significant age gap, but that's something that you have to at least incorporate.
Right.
Ideally, I think everybody sits in a room, and in terms of investigators and detectives, whoever's working on it, and says, okay, let's roundtable all of this. What do we got?
Right.
Is there any connection potentially or not? What do we have? What do we have? What do we have? Basically, that's what it boils down to.
I'm not trying to cast any dispersions or make any inferences here, just kind of asking a question since you're much more in tune with the area. Is there a little bit of frustration in the community there in terms of how these cases were handled by?
The community is outraged. So much so that they took initiative to start contacting the police department and the mayor's office. And there's been some petitions, I believe, that have been started up. The families, both families, also been very frustrated. In fact, at a press conference that happened last Friday, there were several of the news networks that went live. And the family, just let all their feelings out about how they felt, about how the police are doing things. Going back to Mike's point is, there's things happening behind the scenes that we don't know. And still, understandably, the family's frustration is pretty high right now.
You've experienced that frustration, yeah?
Oh, of course. I mean, the thing is, and I'm not making excuses. I don't know anything about this investigation, right? We are doing this show today to not purposely, we're trying not to perpetuate anything we don't know, right?
Right.
Lisette's very good at that. We're sensitive to that. We are trying to do this to bring more attention to it because it's a critical issue.
Yeah.
You could argue in the Chicagoland area right now, this is about as critical an issue as you got 2 pregnant women out there that are not accounted for.
Right.
So that's all. That's really the point of what we're trying to do. But to your point, yes. I often people who listen to the show often hear me talk about the integrity of an investigation. It's a very difficult thing, and it's a tightrope to walk for a detective and a police department. Tougher. I know you're very in tune with this, because when it gets to the level of administration, news affairs, things like that, they're sensitive to the integrity of the investigation. Like for me, as a homicide detective, ideally, nobody talks about shit. We don't say anything. We don't tell anybody anything. Because as I've said before, information has the most value when you hear it from the man, not from the man who heard it from you.
He said a bad word.
I said a bad word.
I put a dime in the jar.
Yeah, right, a quarter. Oh, that's getting cheaper. That's good. But I do understand that's in an ideal world for me as a detective, right? So I can, and the control and investigate, the information is just about preparing cases for trial to keep that integrity of the information so that you know it's as pure as it can be, right? That's all that's about. There's no other real ulterior motive to that because you'd really like to share, and often we try and share what we can with the families, right? I always try and keep an open line with the families. Almost every show we do, we have a family member we talk to, right? I mean, I'm talking about this podcast. It's always meant that to me. But the problem becomes, the family is desperate, and they should be. I would be desperate.
Absolutely desperate.
I would be like, I want answers. I want them now, right? And you should expect it. You shouldn't. That's why when that kind of breaks down, or I just don't have anything new to tell you. The frustration builds. It's tough. It's really and understandable. It's a tough spot. And then it doubles down if you make mistakes, if you don't say things, or you don't follow up on things that you should follow up on. It happens, and that makes it uglier and
right.
And more difficult to deal with. And I'm not accusing the Gary PD or anybody else of anything. I don't know anything about this lisette other than what Lisette's filled me in on. I'm not pointing any fingers. I'm just saying what's clear here is what you just said. Why Lisette is here. Right. This is priority one right now. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and the thing is as time is going on, these cases, are expanding their outreach. Both of these cases have, not just local level, state level, but these cases both are national level awareness now. So not only is it just, the Chicagoland area that's looking, now the whole country is looking because they're like, well, how did that happen? Or jumping to their own conclusions or saying, well, wow, there's a lot of time that had went past. What's going on? So, the critical thing is to keep moving on this case. And I like what you said about the families because I'm a huge proponent of that. Please call the families, give them something, even if it's simply like, I don't have anything new. The families really need to hear from detectives and be told, even at, like I said, the very least, we still don't have anything. But it's that one phone call that makes a world of difference to the families.
Agreed.
And I mean, it sounds like Mike sent me some press releases a little bit earlier. It sounds like Gary PD did put out a statement some time ago talking about the complexity of the case in terms of allegations on social media, the involvement of numerous third parties. I know that there was the word vigilante used. So, I mean, it sounds like a very complex situation with a lot of rumors and innuendo and jumping to conclusions on that, which has got to put and I guess in this day and age, more pressure on detectives, yeah?
Right, and I think at this point, I just need to say, again, not to be like a Yankee apologist like yourself. Not to be a police apologist, but the thing about this is especially, my apologies to the families, but let's talk worst case scenario here. If you are believing that you have a homicide investigation going on, if you have a suspect, you have to build a case that's prosecutable, right? So that doesn't it happens in the order that it happens. You can't, and that's all there is to that. So if you try and rush that because you're feeling pressure, or CNN and Fox News and everybody else is coming in, people are screaming, you got people on Facebook saying that they know what happened and here's the thing and whatever, you got to be detached from that. You got to build a case, because worst case scenario for a person like me is like, that all happens, you build a bad case or you rush a case, and you have a person that's clearly responsible for a murder, and you build a case that's not prosecutable.
Right.
You know what I mean? And they get away with it.
Right.
You don't ever want to let that happen.
Right.
And so at some level, I know it's very difficult. I hope to God that they're found and they're healthy. I'm not wishing anything else, but you have to keep that consideration in mind, right? That we're potentially building a case here that's very important.
Right.
It doesn't take over the immediacy of finding them. You assume that they're alive, that they're whatever. I don't want to extrapolate out on that at all, but you assume that they're alive and you are doing everything you can to do that. And if you have to step on a potential criminal investigation to potentially find them alive, well, that's what happens.
Right.
That you can live with, right? So that's that fine line, if that makes sense, of trying to hit the gas and the brake pedal at the same time to make sure you're doing. So there's a lot of machination that goes in on that. But to Lisette's point, it makes it a lot easier if you keep the family informed. The problem becomes, though, if that information, if you're trying to share information with the family and the family is not keeping the information tight, then you got a problem too.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, I feel like I'm talking in circles here, but it's just I'm trying to describe the complexity of dealing with something like that.
Yeah, which I think is a very good point. This is there are 2 missing young women, both pregnant, but it's also a very complex situation, right?
Right.
With right now, it's hopefully a search for 2 live women,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
and potentially, almost certainly, a newborn child.
Right.
Right. Yeah, because what's a bigger mistake's a tough word, maybe, but which would you rather be in a position having made a mistake on a homicide investigation or a mistake where you believe someone was dead and so you took your time and it turns out they were alive until
Right.
2 days before you got to them or
Yes.
whatever.
Right.
I'm really getting out there on the
Sure,
board,
sure,
but you
sure.
have to take those things into consideration. Point 1, let's assume they're alive and let's find them, right? And that does become a point, of course, where it's like we've exhausted everything, but
Right.
or evidence shows up that takes you in a different direction. But it's tough. But I mean, we're sitting here now, right? Just trying to get
Right.
It sounds like there's some definite movement on that with. I mean, at least there's some new information based on that press release with Emma. But where's the Niyah McMichael investigation? Do you know?
As far as I know, it stopped. The information that has come out. The last thing was that the FBI was there, and they did question the mother and the.
How long ago
girlfriend.
was that?
I want to say it's about a month now. So it's been a while, and they may be, working things out. There's, one point I wanted to touch on. Mike had, brought it up about, families and, things that they say and don't say. That's a very good point, because another distraction, that can hit the detectives and the police that are investigating is that people may be spreading rumors and putting others' lives at risk. So if they're accusing a person that's innocent and all of a sudden people are attacking that person, that becomes very dangerous. There was an instance with the Niyah case where there was a huge search party. There was probably about 80 people there. Okay, it was a Saturday afternoon. I had just left. We did some media attention in the morning with it, and we left. The father and Niyah's mother are disenfranchised. They don't talk. They don't, So he showed up at the search party. They both started accusing each other of things, and a huge fight broke out. And we needed 8 police agencies to respond. So again, people blaming people and they don't have all those facts. It becomes a very dangerous situation as well.
Yeah, it's a lot of stress. Right?
It's a lot of stress.
And so, and it's a tough situation all the way around, for sure. So just to be clear, it looks like, according to this article I pulled up, October the 5th, so you're right, it was just about a month ago, October the 5th of this year, 24, the FBI and Gary police executed a search warrant on Niyah's mother's home. So
Right.
just for time reference, which is actually only 5 days before Emma goes missing, but that might not be at all related.
And one thing I wanted to mention about the Niyah case is that her disappearance may have even happened in August. okay, because she was, on some of these some of these dates, the family did say it was August 11th, but the police weren't counting it until, that report was made. So there was conflicting information coming in, whether it was August that she became missing, or if it was indeed, in August that they said she went missing. She may have been gone as early as the spring.
Is that correct?
Yes, there has been a lot of information on the miscommunication of why didn't anybody report. So that's out there as well, is that she might have been gone a little bit longer.
Is there any, so you may not know the answer to this, but any indication, like she have a cell phone, she on social media, any indication what her stop date was? It's pretty clear Emma's stop date was 10 October when she sent that text, and it sounds like she didn't pick up her check, so that's a good date. Is there any way to backdate from August 11th definitively on Janiyah, or?
I think that's where investigators are focusing on too, because it is so, fluid with that information. They're still trying to figure that out. And the thing with Janiyah is, I believe that she left with nothing. There was nothing she took out of. There wasn't anything missing from her room. So all those pieces, might play a part.
Yeah, right. Concern.
So that those are, to go back to your earlier point, the FBI is not necessarily looking at them as suspects, but also looking at everything in the room that could possibly give some indication as to when the time frame of her going missing.
Correct. Anything. Was she there? When's she there? Is there blood there? Is there any, she leave any notes of what she was going or where she was going? Did she buy a plane ticket? Anything. It could be any piece of information that is helpful to locate her or potentially probative for, an investigation. So, that's why it's really difficult to say, but they're probably doing all of those things,
right?
Is my guess, right?
In the case of Janiyah, the grandmother has been very proactive, because of that, space between Janiyah and her mother and some of these internal issues they had at home. Grandmother has been taking a lot of initiative. In fact, Janiyah's mother is the grandmother's daughter. So, of course, that tension right there to think, my daughter's not looking, but I'm going to have to take the lead on all of this stuff. So that's been really tough, too.
Yeah. But that's good. I mean,
yeah.
She's got somebody advocating.
Yes.
Right?
Both of these cases have a huge following. In fact, you see when people do talk about that, you say the name, and I know who you're talking about. Have you found her? Where are they? So it's time is of the essence at this point.
Yeah. Right. And since we're talking about this, anybody that hears this or sees it that has any information, you can reach out to us. You can get me directly at my email, mike@detectivestory.net. Or the best thing to do more immediate is to call the Gary Police Department, the FBI, the Indiana State Police, and share that information. Even if it's anonymous, it might save a life. It might help with the case. Might help with justice. These two young women, they need to be found. And let's hope that it's both good news. It's tough sledding. I'm not gonna lie, but you gotta keep trudging forward. Gary may know something that we don't know, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
We're just trying to bring awareness here and push, help push forward. And certainly, if there's anything we can do,
oh, absolutely,
you let us know. And
sure, this is a huge help. And being able to use your platform, is a huge opportunity. So we didn't want to, not do this segment on your show. I do want to just mention this to your viewers and your audience is that There have been several fake GoFundMe pages already made in Emma's name that the family found out about it. So be very cautious if your audience does see these GoFundMe pages, that there are some fake ones out there. People taking advantage of the situation.
Unbelievable.
I mean, that shit always comes up. There, I owe another dime, but it comes up in all these things. There's always somebody to take advantage. Listen, don't ever give money to anything unless you vet it. Call the police department. The best way to know if it's legit is, to call the police department that's handling. In this case, the Gary Police Department, and ask them, like, I'd like to donate, but is this legit? They're going to know. They're going to guide you to the right place. Always, never blindly throw money at anything. Unfortunately, there just are people that take advantage.
One of the ways, if the audience does want to help, one of the things they're doing for Emma is she does have 3 little ones at home. There's a 6-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 2-year-old. And seeing those faces, Mike, what that's like, knowing their mother's never going to, never going to be able to spend this Thanksgiving with them that's coming up, unless they get it real quick, but Thanksgiving's next week, so we want to make sure we're really getting this word out and bringing them home safely. But to tell a child that he didn't get to spend Halloween with his mom, that was big for them, and just for them to, this little face, and it was nice, though at the same time it was bittersweet because he made a wish with the little dandelion that he found in the grass, and he says, I wish for my mommy to come home. And we told them we're going to help bring her home.
That's the gig.
That is. If you, any of the audience would like to help, they're asking, if you guys want to purchase, Christmas gifts or little gifts for the kids. We gave them some coloring books and things when we saw them the other day.
So what's the most legit kind of clearinghouse place to make that happen if somebody wants to do it?
There's we can get you in contact with the family. Also, the Team Canine group is working on setting up, like, I believe, a meal train for the family. The family, as you can know, they're not eating properly, they're not sleeping properly. So all those things come, by the wayside for them. So they started a meal train where people can pick dates. Are you guys familiar with these meal train? So you sign up and then you pick a day and you write in there what you want to take that day for the family, and then that's your day. And then every day the family has a meal.
Yeah. So I mean, we are not the best clearinghouse for that, but certainly if you want to do something and you're unsure, you don't know, again, get in touch with Chris and I through the website, through my email, and I'll check with Lisette, and we will make sure that we direct you to somebody that's going to, we make sure it ends up helping the family.
Yes.
100%. That's I promise you that. So what have we not covered here that we want to make sure we do cover?
I think we talked about a lot. Again, both of these cases are being held very close. Chest to Gary Police Department because they are working diligently on it, and we don't always see what's going on behind the scenes. But just please keep your eye out. Bring both of these young ladies home, and like you said, healthy and safe. And the newborn baby. I know the boys are excited to find out if they have a little brother or sister. They did mention that they're looking forward to see if it was a boy or girl.
Yeah, understood. I'll just say on my end, like if you hear this and you know something and you're concerned, or you, even if maybe you did something that you think might get yourself in trouble, it's always best to get ahead of it. If we come to you, it's always worse. Reach out. These families deserve an answer, deserve to know what's going on. So don't hold on to it. It'll be expensive. First, and also I want to say just great job. Always, I'm always impressed with the work you do. It means a lot to us.
Thank you, Mike.
And I know it means a lot to families. So
Let's just get these 2 young women home.
Yes.
okay.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Probably not the last time.
No way.
We'll see.
No way.
We're always communicating about things. Now, before we close out today, though, this is a little tough time because this show is about Emma Baum and Niyah McMichael. That's the focus. That's where we want it to be. But I have to acknowledge and give respect to young police officer Enrique Martinez, who was shot and killed a week ago here in the city of Chicago. Chris knows me well. It's a process for all of us when something like this happens. There's not enough things to say for a young man, for any officer who is killed in the line of duty, and all those things are said. I just want to add, and I've said this publicly before, I'll say it again. The John Donne poem means a lot to me. It always has. Of course, Ernest Hemingway made it immortal, right, with For Whom the Bell Tolls, which is the John Donne poem. But the first line of that, all men's death diminish me. I believe to my core that's true. That's part of being a homicide detective, I guess. You got to believe that. But beyond that, and this is not a surprise probably coming from me, but in my world, a police officer's death diminishes us all, right? Because it tears at the fabric of everything we want to be. Our ability to vote for the person we want to vote for, the music we want to listen, all of the things that we hold dear are eroded away when a policeman is murdered in the street trying to help all of us. I'm never going to sit and claim that all policemen are perfect or anything like that. But of course, it's my family, and it means a lot to me. So when we lose policemen like this, who shot down in the street trying to help people, it kills us as a society. So Enrique, appreciate everything you did, and to his family, we love you. That sacrifice is too great for anybody to make, but I hope you're proud of him, and we're here for you. So thank you again. Thank you for checking in. Thank you to Chris, Lisette, Carlos, and the Flavor Podcast. As always, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and we'll talk to you soon.